everyone.
Hi.
So the craziest thing happened when I was dropping something off at my sister's house the other day. And I wanted to share it with Cynthia.
Oh.
But I thought, why don't I just save it and I'll share it with all of you.
Perfect.
Okay, so I was simply going to drop something off on my sister's porch. And I saw her cat out front.
Oh.
And I kind of panicked because I know that their cats are indoor cats. And so I thought to myself, did it sneak out? Maybe they didn't know that it got away. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to leave what I need to leave on the porch. And then I'm just going to text my sister. And I'm going to say, is it okay that your cat Xena is outside? So I did. I waited a couple of seconds, and she didn't just text me back.
Right.
She called me back. So then I knew this was like a 911, that the cat was not supposed to be out of the house. So Carolyn says, no, Xena is not supposed to be out of the house. You have to catch her, and please, if you can, get her in the house. I said, I don't have a key to your house. How am I going to get her in the house? She said, there is a chance that the backslider might be unlocked. So she said, if you can catch her, please catch her. Take her through the side gate, go around to the back of the patio, and check the slider to see if the slider is unlocked. So while I was waiting for her to text me or call me, her cat was like meowing kind of angrily. Like it was frustrated. Like, I want to get inside. Nobody's paying attention to me. Please let me in. And not only was she meowing kind of angrily, she was like rubbing up against me. I called her. I said, Xena, come to Auntie Marilyn. I need to put you in the house. She came right up to me. I picked her up. I unlocked the side gate, took her around to the back patio. I tugged on the slider door. It opened, and I'm thinking, oh, thank you, Lord, because I just didn't know how long I was going to have to wait for somebody to get home, or if I was going to have to take the cat home with me, which I was willing to do. Braden would have loved that, but Steve's allergic. So anyhow,
That wouldn't have been a good thing. Then.
no, it really wouldn't have. But, so I get Xena in the house, I shut the slider, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what a close call that was.
I'm feeling like such a good Samaritan.
Yes, like the
She's
timing.
definitely an animal saver.
Oh my gosh, I always
gosh.
want to save animals.
Like she almost got killed the other day when she was trying to save this little chihuahua.
Oh, you mean on the
Remember?
way to the asparagus festival?
I'm going, stay in the car.
I literally was going to hop out.
Jump out and get this little
It
chihuahua
was a
dog.
little chihuahua.
But I go, wait, just wait. I go, there are cars coming.
Yes, that's why I wanted
She's
to.
not gonna jump out of
No, I was like,
And
I'm
I'm
literally.
I had to put like the mom voice on. I go, stay in the car.
It's just, I watch all these animal videos where they're like rescuing a cat or a dog or a deer. And it's like in my mind, I'm like, that's what I would do. That's literally what I would do, is I would save the animals. But she was right.
The dog. Well, I watched the dog.
Yeah,
I made
the
sure.
dog
Yeah, the dog went back and went
ran.
back into the backyard. And
Yeah,
stuff, so.
into the yard.
I mean, now if it ran out in the middle of the street or something.
Well,
then-
and I was nervous about that because it was literally right on the edge of the road.
Right, I know.
And we were in
Right,
Stockton.
I get it.
And there
Yeah.
wasn't curbs, so
I know.
my panic set in.
But I was more worried that she was going to get killed trying to get the dog.
You're like, I lost my co-host when she was trying to save a chihuahua. So like you said, I felt so good. I felt like, oh my gosh, I did a good thing. I was at the right place at the right time. And what if I hadn't dropped that off to my sister? Nobody would have known that the cat was out until they went to go look for it.
Right.
You know,
right.
or God forbid, find a furry little lump in the road, which would be like absolutely traumatizing.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I did that, and I go home, and then I get a phone call, and it's my sister, and I'm thinking she's probably just like, you know, I got home, and I saw the cat, and I was just like so grateful that you saved her.
Thank you so much.
Yes, because I was just like, oh, that just worked out so good.
Yeah.
And it was so relieving. But she said, I'm calling because Zane, Farron's boyfriend, got home and opened the front door and wondered why there was a strange cat in their house. And my sister said that Zane was like, there's an extra cat. Like, there's 4 cats in the house.
Oh, my God.
And they only have 3.
They have 3 cats?
Yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
And so, anyhow, it wasn't their cat. Now, in my defense,
hilarious.
in my defense, the cat had very similar colorings
Similar
to
markings.
Xena.
Yeah.
Yes, it
Oh,
was
my
kind
gosh.
of grayish, blackish, tannish, whitish, orangish, like.
Well, yeah, and it's not like you see it all the time. Or
No,
anything, you know. But
no.
how funny though that Carolyn called and go like, "Thank you so much, but that's not our cat."
Exactly. Yes. Carolyn was dying. She goes, I told Zane, oh my gosh, Marilyn came by the house to drop something off on the porch and said she was so sure it was Xena. And the funny thing is, it had this really cute collar. And I had been at Carolyn's house a few days prior, and I never noticed whether her cats had a collar or not. But the fact that it had a really cute embellishment was so Farron, right? And these are Farron's cats, not Carolyn, my sister's. It's her daughter's cats and her boyfriend's cats. So, but anyhow, yeah. I even go, Carolyn, it was wearing this beautiful collar with this darling embellishment. And she goes, none of our cats have a collar because they're indoor cats. I'm like, well, there's that.
Yeah, not to mention that the neighbor's searching for their cat.
Yes, and she goes, oh my gosh, I hope they don't have a tracker on the cat's collar because then they're going to be like wondering why we stole their
like,
cat.
You stole our cat.
Yes, our cat is in your house, right? Oh my gosh. And so, of course, when Steve got home from work, I shared the story with him. And the first thing out of his mouth was, another Lucy. Like, I pulled another Lucy. Because every time I try to do something good and I try to, like, help a situation. Like, when I tried to, catch that bird in Hawaii, cut the string off his feet. Like, I ended up pulling out all of his tail feathers. So Steve's like, I wouldn't expect anything less, like, for this to happen. Yeah. So, anyhow.
That's pretty good.
It was pretty funny.
I love it. Yeah, that's a funny one.
Especially when you have no doubt in your mind that that's your sister's cat.
Well,
and you did a good deed, and you're like, I'm feeling
like
good.
Patting yourself on the
yes,
back.
because I'm like, Farron is going to just be devastated if something happened to that cat. And, so anyways.
She just got an extra cat.
Yeah, now I just got an extra cat. He's so cute, too.
That is so funny.
And like I said, the cat gave no symptoms at all that it was a stranger.
That it was scared or...
Yeah, no, and I even said, Xena, come see Auntie Marilyn, and she came right up to me.
Wow.
It was
that is pretty funny.
Yeah, like she was laughing and I was shocked. I was like more shocked than anything because I'm like, I cannot believe that wasn't your cat. Like it was so friendly. So anyhow, okay, so we had talked about gardening when we did our Hello Sunshine podcast, and we had talked about what we wanted to plant.
Yeah.
So I thought we could just give a little update on
our
gardening.
Yes. Yeah. And we've had this like sporadic weather lately. It's been like it'll be like 3 or 4 days of gorgeous sunshine, mid 80 degree weather, and all you want to do is go outside, right? And then the weekend comes and it pours rain.
Yeah.
And it's like, what the heck?
Yeah.
So, anyway, we've been kind of dealing with this sporadic
Yeah, and we've had
weather
some plans that we had to cancel because we wanted to venture to talk about on the podcast.
Yeah,
and
we did have to cancel one because of the rain, and we weren't feeling it, So, anyway, I did already go out a couple weeks ago, and I'm a tomato person. I love fresh-grown tomatoes. So... if I'm going to plant something, and I don't have a really good spot for a garden in my backyard. So what I do is I have a couple side yards, and where all the shavings are, the wood shavings. So what I've done is I've just moved them and aside and made a big area and kind of dug down a little bit, kind of crunched up the dirt, and then I go and buy dirt.
Oh, yeah, like potting soil with fertilizer. Yeah, to mix it up. That's a good idea.
And then I did this a couple years ago, and it totally worked.
Oh, my gosh.
Because I tried the pot one before.
Yeah, I thought you were doing a pot again.
No, because when I did a pot, I got 4 tomatoes.
Oh, my gosh.
And when I did it in the ground like that, like 2 years ago, I got like 50 tomatoes.
Oh, wow.
I had so many tomatoes.
That
I
is
didn't even know what to do
huge
with
difference.
them. Yeah.
Interesting.
So I did move it to the other side of the yard this year only because it's easier. So, so I've gotten 3 kinds of tomatoes. And 2 of them are like the Ace. I think those are like the medium-sized red tomatoes.
Okay.
And then the other one was a yellow like a medium-sized tomato. It was yellow with a little bit of red. That's just the picture. And so then I was at Walmart the other day, and I saw another one, and I thought, you know what? I want some cherry tomatoes,
Those
too.
are great for salads.
Yes,
You just
and
throw 'em
these were so cute because they're the kind that you see in the store. They grow on a vine.
Oh, yes.
And then you have all little cherry.
I love
They were
that.
called something else, not just cherry, like vine cherry tomatoes.
Oh, okay.
They had regular cherry tomatoes, and then they had the vine ones. And
Oh,
I'm
I
like,
love
"Ooh, I
that."
love the vine ones. So anyway, so I have got mine all planted out in the sunshine, and I did the, little tomato cages on them. And so one plant, the one that is the yellow tomato, already has like about 5 yellow flowers
Are
on
you
it.
serious?
Yeah, so that's the only one though. The other ones have no flowers yet. So anyway, so we're going to kind of track their progress because I'm super excited to have fresh tomatoes because I didn't do it last year and I was really kind of sad that I didn't do it.
Yeah, and you kind of have to do it like at a particular time, otherwise you miss your window of opportunity, right?
Where we live, you want to plant in April.
Right.
Now my sister does a huge garden every year, but again, they live in Idaho. So they cannot plant their plants until after the frost. They know there is no more frost. And so she always has to wait till almost the end of May.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, because they
Interesting.
can still get a frost.
Right, and
where
then
we
kill
know
the
we
plant.
won't.
Yeah, ours won't get that cold.
So
here.
I'm excited.
I'm excited to see.
And I don't know if you watched Hello Sunshine. We did talk about how we were going to. She was like, "Oh, are you going to share your tomatoes with me?" And I'm like, Well, what are you going to share with me?
Yeah.
So anyway, we kind of decided that we both love cucumbers.
Yes.
So she did her due diligence.
Yes, my due diligence yesterday because the weekend was so rainy.
Yeah.
So yesterday I ran my errands and I was so excited. I didn't have a whole lot to do yesterday, so I wasn't like in a rush. But I
that's
love, yes. It's just so joyful and so relaxing to just browse through Green Acres.
Oh, yeah. I love that story.
Oh my gosh. It's like there's so many flowers and trees and plants and bushes and then every herb, every kind of vegetable you want. And so I literally was there for like 2 hours.
Oh, I bet. Because my problem there is I'll keep buying stuff.
Yes, and I actually
And I don't want to.
put some things back.
Did you?
Yeah, because I thought this is just so much to plant at one time.
And you only have, she does have a raised garden bed, but it's not that big.
No, it's really not that big.
Yeah.
And I did want to buy some flowers to replace in some pots that didn't make it through the winter and the squirrels.
Oh, are those those are for outside, like in the
Yeah.
basket.
Yeah,
Okay.
we got hanging baskets, and then we have the pots on the porch. But because I love squirrels, I feed them peanuts. And so they dig up all my plants to bury the peanuts, and so now they're killing my flowers. So
I knew.
I know.
Never knew that squirrels would dig up your plants to hide their peanuts
Yeah, I know.
and ruin your plants.
It ruins my plants.
Never
and
ever
I
knew
and I
that.
get so frustrated, but I love squirrels. I just love watching them. I just
Yeah.
think they're adorable.
They are cute.
I love how they eat a peanut. It's just so cute. But
is.
yeah, it just gets to be frustrating when they're digging up all the roots, just trying to bury the peanut.
Yeah.
And there's times they forget about the peanut so long I have a peanut plant growing out of my hanging baskets. Or even on the ones on the ground have peanut plants growing out
She
of
even
them.
has a neighbor that had a peanut plant.
Yes. My neighbor said, "Are you putting peanuts out for your squirrels again? Because I got a couple peanut plants growing in my garden." I'm so sorry.
Oh, no.
I don't know what you're talking about. No, you told me that it upset you when you found the shells in your yard. Of course not. Wait, they might be watching. Oh, shoot. I forget. Sorry, friends.
You're stuck.
I just got busted. Oh my gosh. Oopsie-daisy.
Oh, that's funny.
Okay, so let's just get to the topic, right? So I was so excited because when I told her that I was gonna plant pumpkins, she was not excited. She's like, "No, I don't want pumpkins." I'm like, "Okay, then what else can I plant?" But I really still wanted to plant pumpkins because I've never grown my own pumpkin.
And it's not like I was telling her no,
Right?
don't.
She just didn't want me to share my
Oh.
pumpkins.
So like,
You wanted something that I could share
what is
that
something
you
I
wanted.
could eat?
Yes, not just look at. And you're not really into carving pumpkins. All your kids are grown.
You gave me the giggles. Oh my gosh. So the other thing, though, I was trying to detour her away from a pumpkin is because I did pumpkins before, and they take over your garden. Like, we won't have any cucumbers.
Because if you think my pumpkin's going to take
over, right? Well, of your entire... It's when you buy these plants, they're this big.
Yes, they look so little.
It's so hard.
And they look so fragile, too.
And I tell her, she buys 2.
Yeah, I did.
Two. And I'm like, Marilyn,
and
what did I tell you?
I know. Okay, so I couldn't make up my mind. Because I love jack-o'-lanterns. Just regular old pumpkins that you buy and you carve with your kids.
That's all I ever do with a pumpkin.
Right?
Yeah.
But then they had Cinderella pumpkins.
Which, is that supposed to look like the carriage?
Yes, they're more
Okay.
squashy. Uh-huh. They're squashy.
They're going to take over the whole side of your yard.
Well...
Just so you know.
Well, my mint is actually doing that right now. I've got mint popping up in places I hadn't even planted the mint before.
Oh, wow.
So it was like always on the left side of the azalea that my mom had gotten me when we first moved in the house.
Yeah.
And that thing is booming. And I'd actually gotten the mint from the house I grew up in. My mom took a sprig before we sold the house.
Oh, that's
and
cute.
she planted it at their new house they moved to. And then when we bought this house, I asked my mom for a sprig of that mint. And I planted it next to an azalea plant that she had bought me. Well, now the mint is like popping up like
everywhere.
Way down the side yard.
Maybe I'll take a sprig of that.
Yes.
Because I've tried to grow mint in a pot in the house, and it does.
No, it
I
loves
have to
sun.
plant it outside, huh?
Yeah, it does so well. And actually, I cut a big old sprig of it yesterday and stuck it in a
Oh.
glass of water. It will stay fresh in your refrigerator forever if you
Wow.
just get a little bit of the roots on there, too.
Yeah.
It totally stays fresh
Oh,
for
wow.
so long.
Remind me
So-
to get a sprig of mint.
Yes, I will make sure you get some because we have plenty to share.
Okay.
Okay. So then, like I said, took her in the backyard. I showed her all the plants I bought, and she's like, "You bought 2?" Well, I didn't tell you that I got 4 because I got 2 of the Cinderella and I got 2 of the jack-o'-lantern.
You're a nut.
I know. Now I feel like I need to not do that. Maybe
Well, what
I
are you
feel
gonna
like
do now?
I know. Like, does anybody want a pumpkin?
Yeah, you have to plant it
Okay.
because you can't kill them.
No, I will never kill a
So
plant.
now you're gonna have. Oh my God, Marilyn!
I know.
How did I not see you had 4?
I know. They were all kind of clustered
How many
together.
cucumbers? So she did get cucumbers.
Okay, so I'm even
goodness.
more excited about the cucumbers
Yes.
because I am half Armenian and I'm half English. And they literally had English cucumbers and Armenian cucumbers at Green Acres.
Yeah, and I'd never even heard. Now, once I never heard of Armenian cucumbers.
Yeah.
Once I saw the picture of it, I was like, oh, I didn't even realize that those are Armenian cucumbers. But I will say you don't see those a lot in the grocery store.
No,
So, yeah.
because it's mostly the English. So if you guys aren't certain what an English cucumber is, they're the ones that are always wrapped in plastic, plastic
real
wrap.
thin,
they're
and
kind
they
of
don't have seeds,
yes,
lots
they're
of
very
seeds.
long and skinny. They've got ridges on them. So imagine that, but much lighter.
But lighter in
like they're
color.
almost kind of a creamy yellow color, and they're very long with ridges.
Yeah.
Also.
Yeah, I've never known that to be an Armenian cucumber.
I know, right?
So now I'm really excited that I
Yes.
get to try those if they can outlive your pumpkins.
I know. Well, if I could find a neighbor or somebody that would take like one of the Cinderella and one of the
others,
jack-o'-lantern,
yeah.
I will definitely like offer those up because now you're making me nervous, like you said.
I'm
because
nervous.
when you started saying they're this big and then they get like that made me nervous because like when they're in a little tiny pot and there's like 3 leaves sticking out,
think
you
that.
just can't imagine. But now you've got me nervous.
Well, and zucchini is the same way. You think zucchini, because I've done all this before.
Right.
And the zucchini, the little zucchini plants are like this, and you just think, oh, I could do 3 or 4 of those, right?
Right.
They just their vines are just going everywhere.
Oh, my goodness.
And you're finding zucchinis under here and under there, and they're just all throughout.
I might just have to have a pumpkin stand and just give them away.
Well, the problem is when you don't have a ton of dirt, you'll probably get 1 pumpkin, and you're going to get all these vines.
Oh.
That's what happened to me. I got 2 pumpkins.
Oh, well that's...
But what's kind of cool about them is they don't ripen until around Halloween.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, like October. So you'll have that garden for quite some time.
Well, that's great.
Yeah.
Because I want to watch something grow.
Yes.
I want to feel like, I can see the fruits of my labor.
Well, and you do have a side yard, so your raised bed is here. So what you might plan on doing is once it starts vining, maybe just putting the vines this way down
so it
your
grows
side
down
yard.
the retaining wall.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you know,
because I don't even mind if it comes over the retaining wall. I mean, that might be really pretty.
Right. So, you know, in Japan, you know, they don't have a lot of land, right?
Oh.
So everything is built up.
I did not know that.
Yeah, they don't build this way. They build this way because of it being small and so many people. So my mom used to tell me that, I don't know if you know the Japanese pumpkin. They're the green ones, kabocha.
Are they orange on the inside?
Mm-hmm. They taste like a sweet potato.
Oh, I only know of that because I get the veggie tempura.
Yes.
Right?
So whenever you get veggie tempura, they give you Japanese pumpkin. And most people would think it's a sweet potato, but it's a Japanese pumpkin. Well, anyway, my mom would tell me that in Japan, they would go up on the roof of their houses and they would plant your plants up there, and then the vines would come down.
Oh, how beautiful.
I know.
I love
and
that.
And they would have their pumpkins.
Oh my gosh, that is so cute.
Yeah,
I love that. I love learning. We're watching Amazing Race right now, and I'm just like fascinated by like Dubai and Japan, and I mean they're going to so many places.
All the different places.
Yeah,
wow.
And you get to really see like how other countries live and how they garden. Like it's really, really interesting. I love that.
I bet that's interesting. Well,
let's get into today's topic.
Yeah, today's topic, it's a crazy one. So, we've just been kind of going back and forth a little bit on dating things. Yeah. And it's because, like we talked about, Marilyn is a very popular person for dating strategies. And that's when this whole thing came up. We did talk about this.
Even though I've been married 24 years. No, 22. No.
I was going to say.
Oh, Lord. A long time.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be, I think it's going to be 23.
23 years.
Yeah, the only reason I know how long she's been married is she's got a year on me.
Right.
And I know mine this year is going to be 22. So I know hers is 23.
Yeah, I got married in 2002. So, yes. Okay.
Yeah.
You're right.
And, but anyway, she's with friends or whatever trying to ask for, advice.
And I'm so inquisitive with stuff. I love learning about stuff.
So she really did a bunch of research on the flags of dating.
Well, and it stemmed because, everybody knows about red flags.
Yeah.
Then you started hearing people talking about green flags, and you're like, oh, easy to figure out.
Exactly.
Green means go, red means stop, right? Well, then I started hearing about all this beige flag and a pink flag, and I'm like, what is going on? Like we were saying in our last episode when we were talking about gaslighting versus floodlighting, it's like everything has a term now, and it's, to me, I find that so fascinating.
Right.
Because these are like characteristics that humans have had all of time, but like now there's a term.
Yeah, but the thing is, when they give you a term and they give you a name and a color, I was reading through this terminology and I'm like, I am so glad I'm married. I don't want to date.
So true.
Because goodness gracious, if you go through all these things, and if somebody was doing it to me, like if they had read it and they're doing, is she this, is she that, is she that? Well, I just probably
because you'd be like, oh my gosh, you've got a yellow flag and an orange flag, and like I can't date you anymore. Whereas back in the day, you're just kind of like a pros and a con.
Yeah,
it was super cut and dry. And now there's like warnings and stop.
Yeah. So of course the first one is red flag, right?
Yes.
Which is stop.
Yeah.
If you see something really bad or something wrong that you
don't agree with or you can't overlook or overcome,
and that you never could,
right?
That problem I would think though is you kind of don't know until later in the relationship.
That is so true.
You don't know a lot of things until I've actually even said you really don't know somebody until you live with them.
It's so true
because
you get
that even changes from dating to living with somebody.
Exactly.
And I would always push to live with somebody before you marry them. But I mean, my parents would like strike me with lightning.
Yes,
we say that, but
because they're Mormon.
That's kind of how I think,
Right. But it is is.
I really
It is
do.
true in a way. Like, I was always afraid to do that because I didn't want to disappoint my parents.
Right.
But really, there's a lot of things that you do learn when you're living with them that you may never know
So many things.
when they're just picking you up for a date and you're
Yeah.
going to a restaurant
And
or
it's
maybe
always
just
fun.
hanging out at their house and making dinner. You don't really know if, like, you know, they're just really sloppy, if their closet's unorganized, or they snore.
The way they blow their nose. I mean, there's
Yeah.
all kinds of things. Exactly.
Yeah, because how do we know how many times they brush their teeth? I mean, they could brush their teeth
Exactly.
once a week. You really, I mean, hopefully
I
you
think
would
you
know.
might know that.
Yeah, but like stuff like that, like oral hygiene, personal hygiene, like that's super important. And I
Right.
would want to be like, do you shower every day? Do you
Right.
brush
And
your
I think
teeth?
you would, yeah. And that you would find out more down the line. But
Mm-hmm.
we all know about the red flags. You know, the
Yes.
major red flags where that's basically a deal breaker.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, nope, we're done.
Just for you. Like, it might not be a
Right.
deal breaker for
Oh,
somebody
yeah.
else, but for you, you're not willing
to
succumb
take
to
that on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, as part.
Right.
Of
And
your
then, of course,
relationship.
we know the green flags.
Mm-hmm.
And the green flags is great because
Yes.
it's a go.
Yeah.
And when you meet that person that you feel you're compatible with.
Yeah, totally. And they're honest and
Oh, yeah.
respectful
And that's
and
a huge thing
supportive.
for me is honesty.
Yeah.
Really, it's like if somebody lies, I don't do that.
Yeah.
And I feel like if I don't lie, then I don't want to be lied to.
Exactly.
So I want to be, I'll treat you as you treat me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And respect. Like, I feel like,
that's so respectful.
oh my gosh, yeah. Just talk to me with respect. Don't talk down to me.
Right.
Don't use bad terminology. Like, I don't want anybody to be disrespectful
Right,
to me because
right,
that
right.
just feels so wrong, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But I think, like, when I met Steve, I thought, oh my gosh, he's so nice, he's
Yes.
supportive, he's so respectful. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if people say bad words, but one of the things that I thought was kind of cute about Steve is he said, I don't really say bad words. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Because most people do,
Yeah.
especially men. And like I said, I don't care if you do. I mean, I think it's funny, especially if you use a bad word as an adjective. But I just think that is like the easy one to understand is a green flag.
Right,
because
right.
you know you've met a good person.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly.
But then they throw in a yellow flag.
Yeah.
And just like a stoplight, that means proceed with caution. Right?
Yeah.
So that one was even a little easy to understand or easy to
even-
figure out.
Exactly, yellow, because we all know yellow, like you said, is a stoplight.
Yes.
We all know that's slow it down a little bit.
Yes.
Even though we do say with the light, when it turns yellow, you go real fast.
Yes. You're like, oh, really hot guy. Boom. Okay, so when we started looking at sorry, I digress. But when you start reading the characteristics of a yellow flag,
Yeah.
it basically is like just proceed with caution if you happen to notice them having a temper, being controlling,
Yeah,
being jealous or possessive. And so this kind of drew us back to the conversation that we had in the last podcast, which was, the gaslighting versus floodlighting. We talked about a previous relationship for both of us where there was a little bit of that going on.
Right.
And so, for me, like I said, I thought, if they were jealous, that it was flattering. Like they really like me. And
Right.
so that can't be a bad thing because if you've never experienced something,
Right.
you don't really know.
Right.
And
right.
so, anyhow.
it's basically a characteristic that they have that you need to look into a little more.
Yes, don't
So
just be
you-
flattered and
Right.
think it's a good thing.
And proceed with caution.
Yes.
Basically.
Yes.
Just kind of, you just kind of watch. One of those things you kind of watch and kind of see how he acts about certain things. And, just kind of take it into
Yes.
consideration.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden they come up with an orange flag. And I'm like, oh, my gosh. And then I guess they say that's more, more serious than yellow?
Yeah, not quite as mild
Yeah,
and
so a
just
little
proceed
more-
with caution.
so we're in
but
between
like
the
have
red
your,
and yellow,
Yeah, like open your eyes, don't be blinded by good looks or whatever
Which
else.
we know that always happens.
You're attracted to. Maybe they have a lot of money and so you're like willing to put up with more, or maybe they're really good looking, or maybe they have a job that you really idolize. But like this one is like don't just proceed with caution. Like, keep your
Yeah.
eyes open and be aware
Right.
if this goes bad.
Well,
And
and also, too, they say for the orange was like family. Like, you know, because now you're in the relationship a
Yeah.
little bit more, and you might find a mother or a sister or a brother.
dad or
yeah,
brother.
dad.
Yeah.
Yeah. That they're very into your stuff.
Yeah,
You know,
where
or
they-
they're into your relationship.
yes.
And that's kind of a red flag.
Yes, yes.
Because you know when you marry, or say if you planned on being with this person, when you marry that person, you marry their family.
It's so true.
Yes.
I mean, I've stayed in relationships too long because I loved their family.
Yeah, and she still loves her, and she still sees her.
I know. Well, yeah.
You're the only person I know in my life that has all these ex-boyfriends, and she still talks to their mothers and
their
still
families.
goes to all their funerals when they
Yeah.
die.
I go to lunch.
Talks to
We meet for
cousins,
coffee.
lunches. I'm like, when I break up with somebody, they are out of my life forever.
Oh my goodness.
Don't want to, even though if I like their mom,
Right?
they're still out of my
And
life.
that's not me.
Because
Like,
I don't want a connection to the guy.
yes.
That's the difference, I think.
Right. Well, and I'm the kind of person, when I have a friend, like, you are my friend. I don't let people, like,
She doesn't let them leave.
disappear. Yeah. Well, that sounds a little stalkery, but no, if you're my friend, like, I'm going to make an effort. Even if I'm the one that texts more or I call more, like, I don't let people in unless you are my really, really good friends. And then when you're in, I just love you, and I don't want to not have them in my life. And
Right.
so with the family she's talking about, I did break up with their son or their cousin or, you know, whatever. But I did that because I knew that that person was not perfect for me.
Right.
But I loved their families. And so
Yeah.
it was really hard for me to let go of the families. And so I always like to be a very unique person. So the fact that you say you don't have any other friends that are friends with their exes' families, well,
No.
okay, good, because I like to be different. And I really enjoy these relationships,
Yeah, well,
you know.
and that's fine. I mean, as long as you get
And Steve
good
doesn't
things.
mind.
Yeah,
I should throw that out there.
And that's
Steve
actually,
doesn't mind.
yeah, that's another flag we're going to get into.
Yeah, exactly, because I think that it is a very confident quality that Steve has that I really respect and I love about Steve, is that he is not the jealous type.
Right.
If I tell him I'm going to go have coffee or I'm going to have lunch, none of this stuff he cares about. And so it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So anyhow, I would
Right.
never want to do anything to upset Steve, and he's fine with that. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's okay.
No, he is. He's great about that.
Yes,
stuff.
but the
Yeah.
other thing that was an orange flag that I remembered we had talked about was mood swings. And so that is something that I think is a really hard one to kind of identify too, because
too.
a lot of people always want to put on a good face. And
Especially when you're dating.
yes,
Yeah.
for sure. And, you know, I mean, I would imagine PMS goes right in there.
I
you
think
know,
for the girls.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
right?
Yeah.
So, you know, we always try to be balanced, but sometimes you just can't help it. But, you know, I think there's a lot of factors, you know, like we talked about with mental health and things like that, is you just don't really know if the person is having any struggles or
Right.
things like that. And so I think that would really depend on good communication, feeling comfortable to talk about, you know, what's bothering you and what's going on.
Right.
So that it doesn't potentially be a problem down the road.
Right. We didn't have any like personal stories on that one.
No.
We've never been in a relationship that someone was like, you know, one day's up here and the next day's down here.
Yes,
So
yes.
I guess our men have been kind of even keeled.
Yeah, pretty even killed.
Or they self-medicated themselves to be even killed.
We did talk about that on the last one. So true.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, yeah. So then there was the pink flag. Okay.
Pink. Who would have thought pink?
I know. And pink. I thought,
pink, right?
this has got to be a great one because
I
it's
know,
probably
right?
really cute. It's pink. You're wearing pink.
I
That's
know,
great.
pink today.
Okay, so the pink is actually you have differing communication styles, and you have a different love language, and they do things that are potentially annoying.
That could be anybody.
It really is,
Seriously,
yes,
you know?
because most people don't have the same love language.
No, and most people have no communication.
Yes.
Seriously. I mean, practically anybody you talk to, it's like when you're married, there is always that communication gap, right?
Yeah. It is true.
There is so much.
Well, because you and I are talkers,
Mm-hmm.
and we married men that are not such talkers.
Correct.
About everyday stuff, totally they are.
Yeah.
But when it comes to difficult stuff in your relationship, sometimes those are the hard things to talk about.
They're more lip-sealed kind of guys.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, they don't want to talk about something that potentially is not like attractive to them.
Yeah,
You know?
what they deem unattractive or weak
Yes.
or
Yes.
whatever. And the thing is that we were talking about this too, is like, it seems like there's always a quiet one in the relationship and a talker. And of course, like I said, we're the talkers. We both married, men that are kind of quiet. Like in Steve's element, he's a talker. And in John's element at work,
He's a talker.
he's
Yeah.
a talker. But we kind of dominate
Right.
the conversation a bit when we're in situations with them.
This much.
Right? Just a little. So in that case, I think that I don't know that we would have been attracted to guys that talk as much as we do.
Right, because then you're battling for the floor.
Yes, you're competing.
Yes,
Not like it's like
exactly.
a comedy
No, but
stage act or whatever.
No, but I think that's what you get attracted to is somebody that's different than you.
Yes.
And lets you have the stage, I guess, maybe. Not that I want the stage or be in
Yes,
the limelight or
because
anything.
I think like that,
but-
it's like I'm actually a little bit kind of insecure in group settings and stuff like that. But I think that because I see Steve kind of pipe down more than I do, I feel like I'm the one that needs to keep the conversation going. And sometimes too, I could be a nervous talker.
Me too.
So if I'm in a situation like at a work function where I don't know a lot of people, or I'm at a wedding where I don't know a lot of people, sometimes I'm just like the social butterfly.
Yes.
Because it's better to be talking and making conversation.
Than standing against the wall.
Exactly.
Yeah. Oh,
to
yeah.
me, that is way more uncomfortable
I agree.
than talking to a stranger.
Yes.
So
I
it kind
totally
of
agree.
pushes me a bit. And Steve always says, you've got the gift of gab, is what he says. And so I'm kind of like, dragging him around, meet this person, I met this person,
Yeah.
And so he never really has to fend for himself.
Right.
You
right,
know?
Right. No.
But, you have to take the good with the bad.
Yes, and that's what you do in relationships.
Yeah, the
right?
pros and the cons list is like, maybe he doesn't like to talk about difficult conversations, but the fact that, we're not talking over each other, or he's like overbearing or something like that, you kind of like weigh the odds a little bit,
Exactly, and that's what makes it work. And like you were saying, I think the love language thing, I think that's probably something that, not a lot of guys like talking about that.
No.
At all. And I have to say, because it's not just the guys, because I think I don't really like talking about it either.
Really?
Yeah.
Like,
so
honestly,
you are a talker about it. You do.
yeah.
Me, not so much.
Yeah, I'm very open about my feelings and what I like and what makes me happy, and I kind of am an open book like that.
Yeah.
And I don't think I've ever literally taken a love language quiz. Like, I'm not even sure what my love language is. So that might be fun to do.
Huh.
I'd be curious.
I didn't know you could take a quiz.
Yeah, maybe we'll do that on the podcast. I think it might be kind of fun, interesting, just to figure it out.
Remember those naughty lady parties?
Yes.
Remember those? And they would have like questionnaires, and you would fill out all these questionnaires
Yes.
and stuff like that. And then whoever like had the highest score won a prize.
Oh, I don't remember that.
Oh, really?
So what did they...
Oh, so it would be questions like, how many times have you done it on the beach?
Oh, my
Okay?
gosh.
And you'd write it down, right? Or it would be...
This took a turn. I did not know
surprised for the worst.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
I had the least amount of points.
Oh my gosh.
Like, how many times have you done it? What do they call that when they're in the airplane? What is that?
Oh, the Mile High?
Yeah, the Mile High Club.
Oh my gosh. We're going to have to put an X rating on this one. Oh, that is hilarious.
But it's funny because I was the opposite. I lost.
You lost. And I'd be like, I want to win this. Seriously.
You probably would.
Oh my God. This is
But
funny.
anyway, that's
we never know where our conversations are gonna go. Oh my goodness! But yes, so were those parties and those questionnaires like to determine something about the person?
Like how sexual you were.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Okay. Well, I thought
Like,
it
have
had
you
to
done
do.
it here? Have you done it here? Have you, done this? Have you
Yes,
done that?
have you
That
done-
kind of stuff.
I
right?
see.
And I'm like, no.
God. Okay, I thought.
It's like in the airplane. Oh, hell no. That's when I have no desire.
Oh my goodness. Okay, well, I thought this was like gonna tie into some sort of questionnaire with the
Oh, my
love
God.
language.
my
Oh,
goodness.
that's funny. Okay.
Okay, now we're going to talk about beige flags.
Yes, can we talk about beige now? Because you can unmuffle your kids' ears, right?
Yeah, beige is really boring.
Well, here's the funny thing. When I read about what a beige flag means,
Yes.
I literally thought beige is not the right color.
I agree with that, with what it means.
Don't you
I
think
totally
it should
agree.
be something like turquoise or chartreuse?
Fuchsia. Yeah, it
Yes.
should have, because beige is so just boring.
Boring and
right?
bland.
Yeah. And beige is that you are, like, you're, learning about your partner's quirkiness.
Yes, and hobbies.
Yeah, and quirky traits and weird hobbies that
Yes.
you might like building robots, and you're thinking, oh,
Right.
whatever,
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
It's little things like that.
Right.
Or, quirky
Quirky.
traits.
Yeah,
Yes,
quirky
yes.
traits. And I thought if someone's quirky, like the last color I'm going to associate
It's beige.
is beige. Like beige is so bland.
Well, now I will say, because one of the other definitions is charisma lacking.
oh, yeah.
So
Okay.
in that respect, I do feel that's beige.
Okay,
You
that
know?
could be beige.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Because if you're, not charismatic and you don't have a spark in the room, then you're kind of beige, maybe.
Yeah, that might be a beige.
That's the only thing I could.
Yeah,
kind of
okay,
think of.
that does
But-
make sense. And then too, maybe the people that don't have a big personality maybe are the introverted people.
Mm-hmm.
So then maybe they are kind of a bit quirky and they stay inward and they kind of focus on hobbies instead of maybe like a social life.
Right.
And things like that.
Yeah. But it's kind of in relationships, it's just, are you going to be able to handle it or not?
Yes, like we were saying, like a
Mm-hmm.
gamer. Because we've dated people that were gamers, and sometimes that takes over the relationship.
Yeah.
And that is their hobby.
That's their
so
hobby.
you want to show interest in it, and you're like, yeah, I'll play Mario Kart, but I don't want to play like Red Dead Redemption or something
Right.
like that.
And I don't want to play it every waking hour of my life.
Exactly.
Or something like that.
Exactly.
And then, like, I will say, like, I noticed this with my husband, now that he's a foodie. And that's his hobby.
Yeah.
Is foodie.
Yes.
That's why he likes Las Vegas so much, because
Yes.
of the food scene. And literally, when we travel, even when we've gone to Hawaii or other places, it's the whole vacation is based on breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yes.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I can't eat 3 meals a day. There's just no way.
Yeah.
But, and that's his hobby. That's what he enjoys. That's what he loves. And, I was telling Marilyn about this time that he had gone to a work function, and it was at this really nice restaurant downtown, and I knew the place is known for their great food and everything. And so anyway, so he had gone, he got home probably like 7:30, 8 o'clock. So, they're there around the dinner hour, right? And I think he had told me it was heavy hors d'oeuvres. So I'm like, well, anyway, so he gets home, and I'm like already, resting on the couch,
Yeah,
watching
you've already
TV.
eaten.
I'm done for the day. Yeah. So anyway, so he goes in, changes his clothes, and comes out, and he starts going in the refrigerator, and he's looking in the cabinet, and he's pulling stuff out, and I'm like, well, what are you doing? He goes, well, I'm going to eat. And I said, you just ate. I go, you just came from your function? I said, you just ate. He goes, those were appetizers. I said, but they said they were appetizers. He goes, that's not dinner. Those are snacks.
It didn't qualify as an actual meal, even though you loaded up on appetizers. That's
those are snacks.
Funny.
Yeah, so he has to come home and eat dinner.
Right, because that was just the appetizer to his dinner.
To his dinner.
Right.
Yeah, I'm like, what the heck?
That
How
is
can
so
you even eat?
Cute. I just think it's so cute because John is like so conditioned and so proper.
Oh my
He
gosh.
wants to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yeah, it's like, it's time. It's time for lunch. It's time for dinner. And it's like, I don't go by time.
No, I just go
by
if I'm
hungry.
starving.
Well, yeah, she's either stuffed or starving.
Starving, yeah. There's no in between.
She has no in between.
You know me pretty well.
Oh my
Okay,
gosh,
let's move on. You know me way too well. Gray flags. Okay, so this one is less serious than a red flag. It's actually a mix of red and green flags that you find in the same person, where they have a little bit of negative qualities, but they also have a little bit of positive qualities. And this one I thought was like the most like extreme, where it was like, they've got all these negatives, they got all these positives, they got all these red flags, all these green flags, and I thought,
Yeah, this one to me was kind of confusing.
Yeah.
And I think that's why they named it gray, because it is maybe a mixture of black and white type thing.
And kind of the gray area.
Right, the gray area of the relationship where and they started going red or green, and it's like, well, those are such complete opposites.
Yes, totally.
So I was a little concerned with that one, didn't quite get that one as much.
Right. It also talks about inconsistencies in the communication. So maybe they're saying something and then they contradict themselves on what they're saying. So maybe they would say, that I always go to church on Sunday.
And then you never see them go.
Yeah, and then you never see them go. Or, they say that they, love watching football, but then you want to watch the football game and they're like, yeah, I don't really want to watch the game.
Totally contradicting what they say.
Yeah. And I imagine it gets much deeper. I'm just trying to be lighthearted about the choices. But, I think that it could be a definite red flag that they could be so negative or have so many negative qualities and also have so many positives. Where I feel like that would be a really hard pros and cons list.
Yeah, it'd be a
if
hard
you
person.
felt like it was equal.
Get to know. Figure out who they are.
Yeah. One of the other things is emotional immaturity. And that is another term that has been used a lot lately, where you used to never really say somebody was immature, emotionally immature.
Not emotionally.
No,
immature.
you would just say they're immature. But then when you add emotionally immature onto it, it really takes it
to a different level.
Yes,
yeah, you're right.
Where you're kind of interesting because maybe they're not even aware of their own feelings.
Right.
Or how they feel about you and the relationship, where that's where I think people would say they're just emotionally immature because they don't really know what they're looking for, how they feel, and stuff like that.
Oh, that makes sense. And then, of course, we have the blue flag.
Yeah.
And the blue flag is more of a relationships of how that, if you two are on the same page as far as life. Are we at an age where we're looking to get married and start a family?
Yeah.
Are we done with that part of our life?
Right.
Yeah. What are we doing in our careers?
Yeah. Are you motivated to keep your career moving and growing and going up the ladder?
And working a lot.
Yeah.
Spending your time.
Or just happy, mediocre at the bottom of the ladder, never, making more money potentially, or, growing as a person, I think that would be a huge red flag if you're the kind of person where you have a very motivated, driven personality where you're like, okay, I did this, now I want to do this, and now I want to accomplish that, and I want to achieve that.
Right.
It'd be really hard to identify or even maybe admire or respect that person that was just kind of happy with.
Well, and I think again, it's to me, it's stages of your life. I feel through my life, I've done things because of the stage of life I was in.
Right.
And so I do feel that blue flag is a good flag, because I do feel when you meet, it's a timing. We talked about timing.
Yeah.
And you do need to be in the same stage, because you're not going to agree if you're not, you know?
Yeah.
And I mean, a big deal breaker is kids. I mean, that's huge.
Totally.
And that's something you need to get out of the way right in the beginning. If you feel this relationship is going somewhere, right? When, you start getting serious. Not the first
Not
date.
the first date. Or even the third date. You might scare
or
him
even
off.
the first 5 days.
He might run for the hills.
So isn't that floodlighting? Was that floodlighting when you gave too much information?
Oh, yeah. It was a little more of a trauma situation.
Yes, exactly. But anyway, that does have a lot to do, again, with relationships, is your timing. When you meet that person, where are you at in life? Are they with you in life, you know?
Yeah, and I wondered if that was going to be a problem with Steve and I, because he's about 10 years older than me. So I always thought if you meet someone that's 10 years older, maybe they've already had kids.
Right.
Maybe they don't want to have any more kids. And I still hadn't had any children. But the fact that Steve didn't have kids and he had never been married, it was perfect, because it didn't matter he was 10 years older.
Right.
He still wanted to get married and he still wanted to have kids. So for me in that situation, it worked out really well. But a 10-year age gap could be very different from somebody that, had kids really young. Right. Their kids are already moved out, and now you're in your 30s. He might be in his 40s.
Yeah, I was going to say, because usually when you're in your 30s and you meet a guy in his 40s, they're usually married and divorced and have kids. Yeah. It's very rare to find a 40-year-old.
For sure.
Yeah, without. I mean, I will say that was my husband too, John. I mean, he I was in my 40s when I met John, and I'd already been married and divorced and had 2 kids. Well, I didn't want somebody that had kids, because
little ones.
Yeah, little ones. It was kind of like I was kind of past that.
Yeah, you're like, I've already done that, raised the kids.
Yeah, and then John's younger than me.
Yes.
So her husband being 10 years older, my husband's 7 years younger than me. So I was, that comes out later, you know, when you start getting serious, like, I'm not having any more kids.
Yeah.
I don't want any kids. And it worked out fine for us, because he said he didn't want kids.
Right.
So that totally worked out fine for us. Even though I already had a child, and here's a person who doesn't want children.
Right.
But him and my son, because my son was 14 when I met John, we started going out.
Right.
And him and John are like that.
Yeah.
They totally clicked.
2 peas in a pod.
Yeah. So for someone to say I never wanted kids and then be so close to my son was perfect.
Yeah, and be such a good father figure for David.
Yep.
Was super sweet.
So, yeah.
It all works out.
It does. So.
Okay, so then the next one we wanted to talk about was a purple flag. And this one is inconsistent behavior leading to confusion about the relationship and its future. And I did experience this in one of my past relationships, not with my hubby. But this one I did understand, where some of the other ones, like we said, we didn't quite understand or we couldn't really relate to.
Right.
But this one, it reminded me of the relationship I was in, where we never talked about the future. We just stayed together, and we just went through day by day by day. There was never a talk of getting married, ever. And the thing is that I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. And that was never a topic. And of course, this was so many years ago that I was a little bit more shy. I wasn't quite as open with my feelings as I am now, and as I was in my, later years. After dating, you kind of get more comfortable talking about those things. But I mean, if it was a relationship now, I'd be like, hey, we've been dating for 4 years. Like, when are we going to talk about getting married, right?
Or are we not? Because if we're not, I want to move on.
Yes, because I did get a promise ring. I just wasn't sure I ever really dissected what the promise was.
What exactly does this mean?
Yeah, what does that promise ring mean? It promises that we're just going to keep on dating
together,
until you can't date no more. So, honestly, I did get out of that relationship kind of for that reason. I mean, it's like I wanted to move forward. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. And so sometimes you just need to rip the Band-Aid off or ask the questions. And I just didn't do that.
Very true, yeah.
I really didn't.
So you never asked, like, have you ever thought about the future with me or anything?
Nope.
No.
We
Wow.
nope. We had so much fun together. We were always jet setting, doing something.
Yeah.
And I loved his family. Like I said, I loved all my boyfriend's families. And so I just kept thinking, well, this is such a good family he belongs to. He must be a great guy. And his siblings were married with kids.
Okay.
And I just kept thinking, it's going to evolve into something.
Okay.
And it just never did. I'm going to take half the responsibility because I didn't, speak up and assert, myself and ask questions. But when you're just having so much fun and you're young and you love their family and your family really likes them, it just seems that it's just, you just keep going. You just hope something's going to change. And then, maybe after 5 years, you just wake up one day.
You kind of get the clue.
Yeah, and you're kind of like, biological clock is ticking. I do want to be a mom at some point.
Right.
So anyhow.
Then that brings, like you said, and I think the purple flag was confusion in the relationship.
Yeah, I was always
just don't know
where you stand.
What are we doing?
Yes.
Yeah, is this ever going forever, or is this just for now?
Yes, and it was funny, too, because we did everything together. Like, he would take me to his company Christmas parties.
Yeah, you were like his, significant other, right?
Yes, literally. Yeah. Like, we did all kinds of stuff with my friends. We did all kinds of stuff with his friends. Like, everyone thought we were going to be together forever.
I bet.
But I just never felt like there was any definition as to where the relationship was going. And I think I hung on to that promise ring.
Right.
Not knowing what the promise was. So, anyhow. But you live and learn.
You do. And that's kind of what we talked about, too, is that if you learn from the mistakes you made, then that's what gets you through life.
Yeah, I mean, that's how you grow and evolve into the person that you are. And, he's happily married now, and that's great. So, we all have our timing.
Yes, we do. We all have our timing.
Right?
Yeah.
So, the black flag.
Black flag.
This one sounds really ominous.
I know, right?
Yes.
Black flag. I didn't even know there was a black flag. I always thought red flag was the worst, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Until we did the deep dive. Yeah. We realized black is worse.
I mean, black flag, that's like, roach spray.
I was thinking about that. Yes.
Like the worst thing ever.
Yeah, like the death march.
Yeah.
Dun, 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 dun.
I know. So the black flag are items that are non-negotiable, right?
Yes.
Like if he hits you.
Yeah.
Causes any kind of danger to you.
Yes.
Yeah. Drinking too much.
That was your black flag.
That's my
for
black
sure.
flag. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the things you will not put up
with. Dangerous behavior, trust breaches, lies and betrayals, just an overall toxic environment. Yeah. So those are things that, hopefully those are things you would learn in the beginning. But I think a lot of times when people are that kind of personality, they really know how to mask it and put on a good face. I feel very fortunate. I've never met a non-negotiable person or dated a non-negotiable person. I think that would be a very, very devious.
It would just be hard, to deal with. But not so much non-negotiable. I think it's more of the thing that they're doing. If you say no, like that does not work, I will break up with you. If you're married, I will divorce you. I'm out of here because of this. Then I think the non-negotiable part is they're not willing to do it.
Right.
So.
But the fact that you had to say that to me, I would have already been gone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't have put up with...
You would have never said it to the person?
Wouldn't... Well, if they... Okay, let's just use, physical harm. If somebody physically harms me, I would go.
Right.
Because that is something that is non-negotiable, right? I would not tolerate it.
Yes.
But now, if they lied about something that wasn't a big deal, I would be like, why did you feel the need to lie about that? That's more concerning than the lie.
Yes.
Because you're thinking, is that their personality where they're always lying, even about little things? Because that's just what they're so used to doing. So to me, I feel like you shouldn't lie because then it's just going to form all these questions.
Well, and it turns into a ball, right? Because then you got to lie on top of your lie. And,
yes.
And if I know I'm the type of person I cannot stand a liar.
Yes.
And so, but like you said, you don't know it in the beginning.
Because sometimes they put on their
when
good
they're
face.
lying, you believe them.
Yes, exactly.
You know,
yeah.
so.
That's why you kind of hope another black flag will, show up so that you can make your decision based on that. But I imagine there's a ton of people that get caught up in a relationship with somebody.
Oh.
And it's a black flag relationship bound to happen.
People that are in relationships that the husband's having affairs or the wife is having affairs, and they totally put up with it, and they just say, well, now
we're married. Now we have kids.
We're gonna, and they do.
Or they end up on Dateline.
I know.
And they're like murdered or something.
Way too many Datelines.
I know. I can't even watch that show.
Oh no, that's my favorite show.
Oh my God, no.
2020.
No.
I watch all of them.
Law and Order.
I know. We were at a hotel one time, and I wanted to watch Dateline. She's like, "No, I can't."
Nope.
And I'm like, "Oh, come on."
Nope, I
She's
can't
like,
do it.
No, I'm like, okay.
No, Special Victims Unit, Law and Order.
I love them all.
No.
Law and Order, my fave.
No. This is so funny because her and I haven't even talked about this. But when I met my husband, one of the things I loved was that Steve said he didn't like horror movies or scary movies. Yeah. And I cannot stand them. Like, I watched a scary movie when I was like 10.
2.
Traumatized at the slumber party. Never did another scary movie after that.
So, I don't know. Are you watching American Idol at all?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I've been watching American Idol, and you know who's funny is Carrie Underwood.
Oh.
Oh my God. So, Luke Bryan is looking at her going, you know every word to every song that every person is auditioning with.
Oh.
And she goes, I've got a jukebox in my head. She goes, I don't know what it is, but I just know all the words. And so they're just like mesmerized because she can mouth every word of all these songs, right?
Right.
Well, this guy comes out and he's like this, badass rocker dude.
Yeah.
He's like, all that stuff. And she knows all the words to this rock out song.
Oh.
Just like
death metal?
Yes. And she gets up there and she's singing it with them, and she's and doing all this stuff.
Oh,
and
my
Luke and Lionel Richie are cracking up.
I've
right?
never seen
They're
that
like, we had no idea. And we've never seen this side of you.
Yes.
She goes, I love rock.
Oh, my
I
gosh.
love all kinds of music, but I love
that
rock.
Is so
And so
funny.
one of the girls asked her, like, well, what's like your favorite movies? And she's like, she goes, well, Halloween is my first.
No.
And then her second was like the Freddy Krueger movies.
I'm
like, we're talking about
No.
Carrie Underwood.
No.
Who would
Sweet
have
little Carrie
right?
Underwood.
Yeah.
Nope. I know. I'm going to look at her just a little bit differently now. I can handle the rock and roll. Love rock and roll.
Yeah.
Def Leppard. Yeah. Totally my jam. Not death metal.
Yeah,
I don't really like the death metal.
Funny.
But that is hilarious. She looks so Holly Hobbyish.
I know, but she's not.
That is funny.
That just goes to show.
Right? You just never
really
know.
Don't really know something.
No, but I don't. I don't want to watch Dateline. No, don't subject me to that.
I know. That would be Marilyn's worst nightmare.
Yeah, because I'm like,
I'd like kidnap her in a hotel and tie her to the bed.
Yeah, watch Law and Order.
You gotta watch Dateline with
yeah,
me.
Law and Order and all these scary shows. No way. No way.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, so when Steve said he loves rom-coms, I'm like,
You're my guy.
You are totally my type. I am the rom-com queen. And he watches
like those too,
all of
though.
them with
I
me.
love rom-coms.
Yes, thanks for that, hon. Okay, so white flags.
White flags.
We're going to close it up with a white flag.
Yeah, which is a nice flag.
Yes.
It's that person you meet that compromises with
Yes.
you and, just knows when to pick a fight.
Yes.
Knows when not to pick a fight.
Yeah, when to voice their concerns and is very easily compromising, but not so much that it turns into something they're resentful at you about.
Correct.
It's in a very understanding, I know that she's really passionate about this topic or this restaurant, so I'll give in this time. But then the wife does that too, where she'll be like, oh, I really wanted to see this movie, but he really wants to see that one, and so we'll go to the movie he wants to.
Yeah.
And that, to me, is so refreshing.
It really is. And I mean, that goes throughout so many things. I mean,
Yes.
going back to the foodie thing, you know, with
Yes.
my husband, I literally have to compromise.
Yes.
I have literally sat there drinking an iced tea while he's eating a full lunch.
Oh, right, because you're
Because
still full from breakfast.
I can't eat a meal. I don't
Right.
want to waste the money on it because I don't even want it.
Yeah, you're on vacation, so you don't take
I
it
still
home.
remember we were in Hawaii, and he's like, well, what are we going to have for lunch? And I'm like, I don't know, but I don't want lunch. And I go, I'll sit with you. So I literally sit there, you know, having an iced tea, slurping on an iced tea, and he's just chowing down on an entire lunch. you know.
Wow.
And I do have to say he's not fat.
No, he's not. He's got the metabolism of a 10-year-old. Like, serious.
Because he's the guy that brings the donuts all the time to the office, and the guys are going, oh, dude, quit bringing the donuts.
Yeah, just because John can eat them doesn't mean everybody else can.
He always comes home with a bag of donut holes, and he puts them in a bowl, saran wraps them, because he can't wait to have them for breakfast the next day.
Oh, that's so great. I love having something to look forward
Oh my
to for
gosh,
breakfast.
so funny.
That is
Yeah,
so cute.
so I do say, I do compromise, and
Yes.
and you have to, or you'll never get along. So I love the white flag, and it's to keep harmony and bliss in your life.
Yes,
right?
exactly. And
But you both have to do it.
yeah. And honestly, it's like from a place of mutual respect because you're like, well, I know he's really, you know, happy with doing things this way. And I guess I could bend.
Yes.
But you know it's because they're going to see that maybe you're more passionate about something the next day and they're going to bend. So
Right.
it's just this yin and the yang and the give and the take and it's all just very harmonious. And so, yeah,
Yep, we like white flags.
we do. Yeah, white flags are good.
We do try to use those, I think, mostly, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I
think
do.
we do.
Yeah, I do. I'm really a passionate person. I mean, some people may say intense, whatever. But I do appreciate that Steve knows that if I, like, pick a restaurant, that it doesn't really matter what he eats. But he knows it matters to me. Especially because I'm allergic to garlic and onion. So
Right.
he is a little more giving in that aspect.
Right.
And
And that's kind of like the same with John. I mean, I
Yeah.
know he loves seafood, and I don't.
Yes.
But I will go to a seafood restaurant because I know there's something, and because I don't care about food that much.
Right.
And I'm not passionate about it like he is, right?
Yes.
So that's why I always say, you pick the restaurant. I can
Yes.
always find something
Yes.
to eat because it really doesn't matter to me.
Right.
You know, and
because John loves food so much and you
Yeah.
don't. But there's probably something that you love way more, a
then a
different
seafood
topic.
restaurant. Yeah.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, like, maybe a movie or something that you guys would do together, like a vacation spot or something like that, where
Right.
John would be like, well, you know, she really likes this place, so I'll
Right.
go there, you know, because we're compromising.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly. That's probably why we've both been married over 20 years.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, Steve is very easygoing, very
Yeah.
amiable, go with the flow, and the crazy thing is our boy is the same way.
Yeah.
Our
he is
son.
Totally
So
mellowed out.
I got really lucky that I don't have another person who's very particular and very specific, like I am, because I kind of am a
You would butt heads.
yeah, we would butt heads a little
Yes,
bit more,
yes.
but
Well,
anyhow.
those are our flags, and we learned something.
Yeah, we
Totally,
did doing
huh?
our little deep dive and research,
Yeah,
so we hope you guys learned
we hope
something.
we hope
Yeah.
you're interested in those fun facts.
Yeah, like we were.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Anyway,
well,
so we're going to see you on the next one.
yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye.